Okay, guys, welcome back to another episode of The Bros Think Big. Today, we'll be talking about being sober minded, not just physically, but spiritually. Now, you might be wondering what that looks like, especially in our modern day. So, we'll give you kind of like a breakdown on what that might look like spiritually in your life, and then touch up on maybe First Peter 5:8, which talks about that. So, let's go through this, right? And most of these are might seem invisible, but it's something that you experience in your life and get to see as well. So, escaping reality with constant scrolling, numbing through entertainment, needing validation, overworking, porn and dopamine cycles, emotional avoidance, needing to be in control, needing to feel busy. And let's be like whenever we use like porn or these type of stuff, all right? So, um, we did a little bit. Well, we did talk a lot about overworking in the past, and we did talk about in a recent episode about social media and its influence and everything. So all of these stuff that I just read are, I would say, pretty big in today's society with people going through it. It's a very spiritual thing, especially like numbing your mind, um, and having like a fog in your head to not be able to see the things that are actually affecting you. A lot of the times, I think it's not people realizing that there's a danger in that, because a lot of times people do realize stuff like that. It's just that they're not aware how it's happening in their life.
Yeah, I think
Know what I
also
mean?
too, when people think of sober, they think of like alcohol as the first thing they think of. They think of like being drunk or like being high or something like
Yeah,
that.
drugged
But
up. Yeah.
it goes deeper than that, right? It can be about like distractions, addictions, emotional numbness, like not being sober is like you said, like the brain fog that you have in your mind. It could be you being just like super mindless in your day to day life.
I
Just
think that's the huge one. It's
yeah.
the mindlessness of the effects, or the mindlessness of uh, people's spiritual reality, or where they are spiritually, or where are they with the relationship with God. People, like I said, I mean, abundance has a lot to do with it, but that's not the only thing. You know, it's the
Mhm.
realization point for people. It's they think that they're okay with where they are because of the things that they have around them, meaning health, family, career, whatever it might be, and it puts them in a good position, right? And we do know that one of devil's trick is to put you in comfort, or to make you feel like you're doing good, or show you that your life is all good and there's no danger in that. But a
Mhm.
lot of the times, that's why you see people finding God in their moments of, let's say, hopelessness, or when they feel anxious or depressed and these type of stuff, because then they realize that there's something wrong there. But that's not the only time we should feel this. We should feel this every in every single of our life, where we just reflect and we watch what we say, we watch what we do, and we're sober minded, we're awake, we're not asleep. And through this is how we will, put in practice to be aware and not give into to temptations or distractions. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
What do you think? Like, why are people so? Why are people not aware of their spiritual uh, position, or their
Mhm.
position with God, or
Yeah, like
purpose?
I'll talk about real quick. When I was at the gym a couple weeks ago, I saw a friend from like high school. He's a younger grade than me. You
Yeah,
guys know him too as
Zach,
well.
right?
No,
No.
it's a different person. But
Okay.
he was talking about like him being on like self improvement, like he's getting his mental health right and stuff like that.
Yeah.
How important it is. And I asked him like, how's your spiritual health? How's that doing? And he like almost like didn't even like try to like he pretty much like paid no mind to it. Like he almost like was like, I mean, that it's not really like the thing doesn't really
Yeah.
exist, right? Spiritual health, like he's not really worried about that.
Because
And
it's all
so
about the tangibles, right?
it's all about the tangibles, but it's also about people. I feel like the world fulfills everyone's needs temporarily already. That people feel like they don't need that spiritual food.
Right. Yeah.
It's like we already have, for example, that adventure or that like accomplishment through like video games, through seeing other people win on the internet, through just
Yeah.
like I guess like sports in a way. It
Yeah.
can be
Money.
money. Like people's sexual desires are fulfilled easily just through like their phone, through easily just seeing any girl that they want and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
it's crazy, right?
Everyone's like already fulfilled temporarily, like not in like a good way.
Yeah.
And so that's why they don't even pay attention to the spiritual need and the craving, because like your soul is just like, it's getting like fed like every single hour of the day. Like it's never hungry.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's
Well, I
my,
guess it's like a physical feeding, but the spiritual gets depleted to the point where now you're numbed and you don't even think it's there. Like people don't even think that they're spiritual beings. People say, "Oh, spiritual beings. How can we have the proof that we're spiritual beings?" I mean, I have a body. You know, I have muscles, skin, teeth, bones. How can I ever be spiritual? Like, okay, well, in this case, like with your friend, did you talk to him? Like, what was his answer with his spiritual being? Like, he just didn't pay attention to it, didn't want to talk
no,
about
so
it?
he was like, I was like, "Oh, how's your spiritual health?" He's like, "I wouldn't say spiritual health. I would say like mental health." Like he kind of like he kind of put the two, mental and spiritual, together.
Yeah.
And I said to him, it's something separate. But we kind of like drifted away from that conversation. I just wanted to see what he had to say.
Yeah,
But
what do you think? Why, Georgie, you too? Why do you think spirituality's so hard for people to, I guess, understand? And do we think that it was like that back then too? Maybe in the 50s, 60s, or like let's even go further to like 1800s, 1700s. Do you think it was that difficult for people to grasp spirituality? Because maybe it was. I mean, I'm just not aware. I don't think it was ever easy to understand, but I also don't think that people were numb to it as much as nowadays with so much.
I also feel like people don't have that like alone time at all. Like people don't get, because their whole life is just like pop-ups of like things that come up in their life, like problems, things on the internet, things that are happening across the world. Just like they're constantly getting fed with just like new thing after new. When it's like, let's just say like maybe 100 years ago or 200 years ago, like after like work, like you wouldn't even have a phone, right? So it's like you go to work, you see all those people, that's it. Like you wouldn't really understand what's happening across the country, really, unless like you get it through the news.
Yeah, yeah.
Like through like a paper. 200 years ago, what was that? 1800s.
And even if you wanted to know something about what's going on around the world, you had to read it. You know,
have to read it.
Yeah, exactly. Now you can just not even take any
just look it
action,
up.
barely any action, to just go on your phone and just click something and read through the screen.
But the problem is there
don't even
too
read, just
is
listen
that
to it.
is that like we can look it up, yeah, but then you have 5 other things saying the different things about that said thing, and all of a sudden like
That's also true.
your mind is just so like scrambled and scattered, because like you can't even like make up your own mind, because it's in so many different
Perspectives,
places.
yeah.
You're gaining so many different perspectives that you don't have that time to like actually digest it.
And all of it makes sense to some extent because the way some people are able to influence and speak about the topic, or especially if you're very, very, uneducated about that specific thing that somebody's sharing, you will fall for it because of how much more they know and how much they can manipulate your mind. Like, for example, if you are unaware of any type of context, let's say in the Bible, you will listen to a Muslim guy or somebody else other than a Christian explaining the Bible, and it's going to make so much sense because of your ignorance and you're not educated on the context whatsoever. So it's an influential part that has to do with, I guess most of these things, because nowadays, well, almost everybody's, influencer on YouTube or Instagram, TikTok. Everybody wants to share something that they know, but I think almost half of them don't know what they're talking about. Half of them don't. They just have the influence and the credibility with views, followers. That's it. Everything else is just people following like flock of sheeps. That's it.
Yeah, I think to go back to the question you asked, like, did people really have that struggle back
Yeah.
then? I would say no, because
Spiritual.
there was lack of information spread back then. There was no technology, and people were seeking some like knowledge that didn't not only make sense, but it was evident to be true. Like, for example, people heard about, when the disciples were spreading the message of God,
Yeah.
people heard this information and relied on Jesus, the only person that can change their lives.
Yeah.
Right? People relied on God. Now the devil has influenced, and the people that are on devil's side has influenced the society to get people, the Christian people and people that are believing in God, to get them on the other side, and gave them all this information, all this access to things that will forget them about God,
Yeah.
which I don't think it really existed this much back then, right? By if we go back to the history of how technology wasn't that like accessible,
Yeah.
and not only just what's it called um social media or whatever, it
Yeah.
was the evidence, right? The evidence pointed clearly that God exists, and then obviously
Because the perceiving of reality.
and then the people started
Yeah.
coming up with their own information saying, and because of their feelings and because of the struggles in their lives, they
Yeah.
said, well, God can't exist, God doesn't exist, and influenced all these people that were going through the same things, kind of got on their side. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, imagine this person that doesn't understand why the bad things are happening because he's not educated on, and he doesn't understand the depths of what God is and who he is.
Yeah.
And the idea of you have the choice to make good and bad, and because of those people choosing bad, it might affect you. But that doesn't necessarily mean that this is happening because God wanted you to feel this way or be this way. And because of this information, they started saying, okay, like, this guy actually makes sense. Like, how can God exist? I'm having depression, and somebody from my family member is dying that I love, and it started to spread, just like a virus almost. So, which didn't really happen back then. You know what I'm trying to say? People relied on things that were evident. Now people rely on things that is just like somebody just said it, and now it's just like true without actually studying. Does this historically make sense?
Right. People don't even do studying anymore.
They don't.
That's why I think a big one is, even if you go on YouTube or Instagram and stuff, a lot of credibility of people comes from the views they get and the followers. I mean, if you go on YouTube, and to some extent, that does make sense. When a lot of people watch something, there is some kind of evidence that the reason why so many people have watched that video is because whoever's speaking is well known to the audience, that people want to hear what he has to say.
And dude, some can
Don't
make
get
us-
me wrong.
yeah.
However, with that also comes from the person knowing the influence that they have. So they will use their influence to then almost say anything and share that misinformation with you. Not only from the understanding and the viewpoint of that person being aware of deceiving others, but that person also not being aware of deceiving people. Meaning,
Yeah.
a lot of the times,
Like
fame-
unintentionally, right?
right, unintentionally. I would bring up Hamza in this situation, right? Like, I haven't seen his recent videos at all, but I remember a while ago when I would watch his videos and stuff, you could see that a lot of people started questioning Hamza. Not only after the video he did with Chris Williamson, where he kind of, I guess, confessed to people about his true character, which was, very good thing that he did, which cost him a lot of audience. But at the same time, I mean, he did the right thing. So anyway, the idea is when Hamza would talk, he knew that he had the influence. He knew he had the credibility. He was making money. He was famous. He had attention. People, men were looking up to him. And this, I think, got in his head, and that pride took over. And when pride took over, I think he touched up on the topics, or he shared too much about some stuff that you could see that he wasn't really knowledgeable of. Like, he would say things that didn't make sense. Like, for example, about the existence of God, he would say some, nonsense. You were in his thing too, right? Remember, he sent this email saying, oh, you're not in my community, and now I'm going to take your girl and this type of stuff. Remember?
I think that was like an email from like his community.
Right. Or his community, or like an automated email that he would
email,
send. Yeah.
But it's just kind of like put fear in like you, be like
Right.
like you're missing out, like you're gonna get FOMO.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't know if from his case it was intentional or unintentional, but the idea is some people actually do truly believe their viewpoint to be true, but that's why you question things. You question people. You question their intentions. You question who they are before you just give them the title of credibility because of views or the influence. I mean, look, a person can have 100 followers, but for a mission of destruction. Now, just because that person has, let's say, 100 followers, going for destruction doesn't make them credible. Jesus only had 12 disciples. He changed the world. 12 people, well, 13, including just one man himself. Let's just start from that. Jesus changed the world. Just one man changed the whole world. 12 disciples changed the whole perspective on the Old Testament and what people believed in the Old Testament about Judaism and Jews being the only ones, right? Obviously, Jesus was the one that brought the message, but the idea is he sent those 12 disciples to spread the message, and those 12 people changed the world. And then you take, let's say, Nazis or Stalin, who had such a big power and influence to destruct the world, but that died off within centuries. Like, people realized so soon that this wasn't the way of life. But we're talking 2,000 years ago until this day. I mean, it's only getting stronger and stronger.
They try
stronger.
to destroy it, and they get exposed. We've seen people try to disprove that Jesus' message was not valid.
Yeah.
That he was just a man. What happens to those people?
They convert
become
or
Christians. They say, yes, this guy was actually the Son of God.
Right.
You know what I mean? So even the evidence of resurrection, right? Like that's the biggest one in Christian, like the evidence, right?
Yeah.
Scientists try to disprove that this whole thing was just a scheme from the disciples and from the world, that it never actually happened. Or, the evidence that they have when they put this like cloth over his body, and then it was like, I guess, reflected on it when he,
The
it's like,
Shoutout.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like
the
when
Shoutout.
exactly, yeah, something like that. I don't know the name, but even those, like, they try to like disprove, and this was their like theory that it was like painted or it was created or made, right? But then they took the evidence and said that was real blood, like, and it was still preserved.
And I
Right.
think they also
And then-
looked at the radiation. So the radiation
Yeah.
was what actually, I guess,
Reflected it,
reflected his image rather than anything on it. Because for such a long time, and on a cloth like that, I mean, a simple, let's say, even if it was a drawing or whatever, or like what was it from, it would fade away, obviously. But
Of course.
there was something so strong that they still can't understand what kind of radiation can do such thing. Like, there's a lot of radiations that exist with, the scientists understanding the side of how radiation can affect something, but that's the type of radiation that they're not even understanding what could have caused that.
The
right?
only
So
thing
it's
they rely
outside
on,
of
and the only
it's a
thing,
miracle.
Yeah, exactly. And the only thing that they can truly, if they're honest with the information that they have, is to rely on the eyewitnesses and the evidence that
On
is within
resurrection,
the
right.
scriptures. Right, that's the only evidence that they can rely on, because there's no other answer. You know what I mean? Like, so you have to rely on something that gives you this information and say, okay, like, this information says this. Let me go and check, like, if it's valid or not. You go and check, and an honest person will say, yes, it is true. A dishonest person will say, I don't trust the scientist. Okay, and then you go another one says this too. But then you're gonna trust the same exact scientist that will say about, the atmosphere and then landing on the moon. You're gonna say, okay, this is somehow possible, but this evidence that he's providing, I don't trust this. It's like pick and choosing.
People have it backwards too.
Yeah, exactly. So if we just go based on the evidence and like the honest part of, is this actually providing what it's saying? Like, is it true?
Yeah.
You'll find that it is. So, I think just evidence is just super strong on the things that the Bible says.
Yep. Mike, what do you want to share?
No, I was looking up some practical ways. We can now talk about some like practical ways on like how people can become like sober minded throughout their daily life. And I want to bring up this point on. I was driving over here and thinking about it. Is that like going to church is just as important as like having alone time with God.
Yeah.
Like both of it. Like having alone time with God is just as important as going to church. And sometimes people might have just one over the other. Maybe people might just have alone time. They don't go to church, or they go to church but don't have enough alone time, because like that time at church is like their only time they can like, I guess, be with God.
Yeah.
But they're both just as important to like fully like sober up, because yes, you can be around other believers and receive the word and stuff like that. But if you're not praying by yourself in your room, like even Jesus calls us to do that, like pray by
He
yourself.
did it the most. I mean, he was away
He went to
from
the wilderness.
disciples,
He went out to the wilderness by himself to pray and stuff like that. And so
be alone. Yeah.
number one, it's just important, right? To pray, to have that alone time with God. I feel like for me personally, like I felt it really depends, right? Sometimes I get super sober when going to church, but more sober when like I read alone, like I pray and
Same
stuff
here.
like that. So I think it really just depends,
Yeah.
but you need a little bit of both. You can't just have one over the other. You need both. They both work together in their own ways.
And I think it's such a proven fact that being alone and reflecting on your thoughts actually gives you peace and it gives you remedy and
Clarity.
gives you right remedy clarity
Oh, it's same
gives
thing?
you no it's not the same thing, but remedy is more like peace and like joy, like a internal feeling that's about like when some kind of weight just kind of gets off your shoulder, type of deal. That's what you would call remedy, right?
Have you guys ever journaled before?
Yeah, I don't look.
Yeah?
I don't do
I
it
have.
Still journal?
anymore.
No,
I
not
don't do
anymore.
it anymore.
Okay.
But I think journaling is a good idea. I should probably
Like,
start doing it. I remember when I did journal though, when I was journaling and doing reflecting stuff, that really like helped me. I think at some point, I just stuck with prayers and just talking to myself and
Yeah,
praying.
yeah.
That was my journal. That's my journaling now. However, I still don't want to take away from the actual journaling, which does
Yeah.
a different effect than just speaking.
yeah, so I feel like journaling is like kind of like it's almost like looked at as like this like washed self-improvement habit. It's like, oh yeah, like journaling. It's gonna like it doesn't necessarily like make huge changes, but it compounds. I feel like if you like journaling every time that you like feel something or that you want to get something out or your thoughts out, I feel like writing it down is a lot better than saying it out loud, right?
Yeah.
Maybe like what if you like wrote your prayers instead of like saying them out loud, or say them as you're writing them, or something like that. But I think like even this past week, I haven't journaled in a while, but this past week I've been journaling like a little bit more, like in my book, and just the whole idea about like writing just a simple paragraph on like what you're thinking in that moment, even if like you don't feel it necessarily,
Yeah.
it's just that is like very clear, and I feel like that's something that can sober you up, especially if it's like it's such like a simple habit that's like
Yeah.
it's like looked down upon in a way. It's like, oh yeah, oh sorry.
I think because it takes effort. That's probably
yeah, I
like
think it does take
what
effort for
people-
sure.
But then it's also, I guess,
It's harder than saying it, just saying it
yeah,
out
true.
loud.
Maybe people also have a very negative outlook on, or not negative, but people think it's harder than it actually is. Like people think it's going to take so much more time than it actually does, and that you can also say is a very spiritual attack that you just got, because if journaling helps you and if journaling is beneficial, but you think of it as something that's so problematic, you can clearly see that the enemy's trying to stop you from doing something that will actually benefit you. And that's how it is looking like in our society. Everything that is beneficial and good, it seems like people are going away from it. For example, dopamine detox. That's not something a lot of people are doing. Reading. People don't read anymore. People don't sit alone and reflect. People don't spend alone
don't
time.
even open
People
up their
don't
Bible.
pray anymore. People don't know about the Bible. People don't look at the historical evidences anymore. People look at a very modern day evidence on what somebody has to say based on their feelings. A lot of the times it's, oh, this is what I think about it. This is what I feel when I read this. This is what I think it's saying. But nobody wants to say that at some point, there are some people who actually said, this is what it says. This is what it means. And this is how to do it. People don't have that stuff anymore. I guess you can say it's lack of boldness too. But it's mostly lack of knowledge. I mean, if you don't know something, you're going to say, okay, you know what? This is what I think it's gonna say, and don't get me wrong. That's the best thing you can say sometimes, for sure. When you're not sure about something, you don't want to tell somebody that that's exactly how it is, because then you will probably lead them astray, and you don't want to do that. However, that just also shows that you are not confident in your knowledge. But those people who have studied things so deeply, people who have spent hours and years on a certain subject, can confidently say that this is what it is and there's no way around it, because they might be challenged, but good luck, because they have all the evidence that they can use for your arguments, right? Like, for example, back then I couldn't argue somebody about Jesus Christ claiming to be God in the scripture, even because I didn't know why or how he claimed to be God, or what he meant by even Son of Man when I first heard that.
Where exactly did he say
Right,
it?
or even where he said it exactly, or how did he even demonstrate him being, God? But because of my knowledge, what I will tell somebody is not, I think Jesus did claim to be God. I think Jesus was God. I wouldn't say I think that. I would say that's how it is. And that's one of the biggest things that you can say, like, people don't like nowadays too, is when you're super grounded on something. People don't seem to like it anymore. And it also makes sense why people don't do it themselves. It's not a behavior that people want to adapt anymore, of, being very based on what you say. I think it's missing.
You know what's another thing with this whole like idea of, is this true or is it not true? Because that's mostly like what I guess social media tries to focus on is, okay, this information from Christians, is it true or is it wrong? And then they make their own point. Then a Christian will come on and say, okay, this guy said that this evidence is wrong. Here, I'm going to provide my evidence and this is right. One thing that I do want to underline is that obviously one has a right, the other one has a wrong. Obviously, I don't stand on the idea of this is right and this is wrong also. I mean, this is right and this is also right. There's one right.
Could there be two wrongs, you think?
No, of course. Like somebody can obviously have a wrong. But when we're talking about like both of them providing same evidence, like from the scriptures, and saying, okay, this also is right and this is also right, that can exist. Because you're providing same evidence and then they're saying both right, even though your point is two different. Your claim is different.
Yeah.
You know
You're
what I mean?
explaining it differently, yeah.
Not just explaining, like your whole meaning is different. Like,
Yeah,
for example,
okay.
Muslims will bring up a verse saying God said this, therefore he's a man and he's a prophet and he's not a God.
Right.
And then the Christians will say, no. This same exact verse that you brought up,
Yeah.
let me go to it. And this is exactly where he claims to be God. You're
Right.
saying this is where he doesn't claim.
Right.
And I'll tell you, this is where he claims. So I'm trying to point out
Yeah.
those. That's what I mean when you compare the text evidence, right?
Right.
But what I'm trying to go here is sometimes when we don't have an answer because it's just hard to give an answer, it doesn't always mean that it's wrong, right? Same way, like, for example, when you ask an atheist, okay, I understand that you're saying that God doesn't exist. I want you to provide evidence or at least some sort of like claim from your own mind or anything. Make it sense where how we just came to be, right? They'll say, some of them probably will say, well, I don't know, dude. Like, I don't know what to tell you. This is how it is. This is what I believe, right?
Yeah.
And then, but if we automatically as Christians say, okay, well, you're wrong, they'll be like, no, I'm not. They'll start doing same thing. But when they ask us a question, and then we just give them the answer, and we just say, well, I don't know, dude. This is just how it is.
Right.
They'll be like, yeah, you see, that's why I don't trust it, because you're saying, I don't know. You know what I mean? So they'll focus on these things that I do not know, and I don't have this information right now. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong.
Right.
Like, like a finite mind, humans are not going to have every answers about infinite God.
And
But
I guess
that's
that's
what
what people
atheists
look
want.
for too.
And not just atheists, but everybody. We shouldn't focus on the things that we cannot control. Things have been revealed about God, who he is. It's very clear.
Yeah.
All right. We don't need to go more than that. All right. We're not trying to, we shouldn't. And this whole thing, I think, came from philosophy a
Tower
little
of
bit.
Babylon, look at that,
Yeah.
right?
This whole, exactly. Even that. And the whole idea of, like, I think philosophy brought this a little bit. People that were following pagan gods, even people that were, like, didn't really believe in God, they said, we're gods.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Mormonism teaches that Jesus was man that became God. Therefore, a man can reach to that level where they become gods. That's what he teaches. So,
Yeah, I'm not aware of that.
so when a person thinks this way, they're gonna try to go beyond on knowledge that they have, and guess what? They're gonna go nowhere because they're not gonna be able to do that. You can't reach that infinite mind that God has with your finite mind. Things are given to you as information, revealing who he is, what he actually is, why he does what he does, what is right, what is wrong. Take as it is and leave it out. And I challenge anybody, live it out and tell me that it's wrong. You can't. It's gonna be hard. I'm not gonna say it's easy. It's hard, but don't mix up hard as something that is bad, and good as something right necessarily.
Yeah.
You know,
Something can feel good, but might not be right.
something about the truth is like that. There's something that might be super true, but people think that it's not true because it doesn't make them feel good in a way. Like it doesn't like serve them. It doesn't prop up their
Benefit
identity.
them.
Doesn't benefit them. And I think, in my opinion, like the truth is going to sober you in like a painful way, in like a hurtful way. I think one of the most like sober moments I've had was when like I had a heartbreak. I was just like super, like my heart hurt, and I had to face the truth that this isn't going to work out. Like that's the truth. Like it wasn't going to work out.
And that's
so,
when your heart rests almost. Right?
That's it rested, but it didn't feel good, right? Obviously,
Yeah, of
like it hurt, and like
Yeah.
almost like truth slapped me in the face there, right? And all of a sudden, like it didn't serve me at that moment. It didn't feel good. I didn't feel happy about it. And that's the thing. It's like people think that like truth is always gonna like serve them, make them feel good, make them feel all types of emotions. When it's just like, no, truth is truth, whether you like it or not, right?
Yeah.
So I think people need to just have a different perspective on what truth actually is.
Yeah, and I think we shouldn't like focus on, like when you see debates, like some people might not have an answer in that exact moment, and we shouldn't always not like I'm speaking from a Christian perspective too. We shouldn't always be like, okay, because you don't have an answer,
Means you're wrong.
that's it, you got cooked or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it depends where we make these claims, obviously, but then we have to have that balance where somebody doesn't have an answer. It doesn't always mean that it's wrong. They just don't have knowledge about it, right? You know what I mean? So like things like that, because like a lot of the times, atheists, and the reason why I'm focusing on is because they try to demand things that is like we can't give as humans. As finite minds, we cannot give something that only God can provide, right? That relationship with God can provide that information, but me as a finite mind cannot give you that. God can give you that, but I can't. So atheists will demand from humans to give that knowledge when God is the only one that can do that type of thing and reveal that to them.
Yeah.
The human can't do that. So we shouldn't, like, people shouldn't demand too many, too much power from another human. Rather, seek it somewhere that is given to you, right? And
Yeah,
that's from God.
I also feel like too, maybe correct me if I'm wrong. Like sometimes like people like on different sides, let's just say like Christians, Muslims, and like different denominations, Christians. It's like everyone's so worried about like converting each other. When at the end of the day, it's like truth's gonna hit you no matter what. Like whether it like God, let's say like God, right? God is the truth, right? He reveals the truth to you.
Yeah.
No, like everyone's not perfect either. So it's like you can't, like you said, like you can't expect to understand an infinite thing or like something beyond through like a fallible human being.
Yeah.
You kind of trying to get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like you almost
he
need
has,
to.
he has his fine line though, like where
Yeah, of course.
like really this is like the evidence versus
Yeah.
something that when I said that I meant something that, like, for example, like people be like, okay, why is bad things happening, or why is God not coming right now? Dude, you're asking me how can I answer that? I'm talking about, I'm going that far. I'm not saying like with the evidence of different religions, because here's the thing. I think religion can be fully proven right and wrong, because both give you evidence that you need to say this is the truth, this is wrong. Same thing with denominations. It gives you this evidence that you can the evidence is clear when something is right and wrong. So I'm kind of going somewhere else, but I see what you're saying. Yes, there's still that line that we're not going to know everything, but then the things that we have revealed as the truth, we cannot just say, well, I'll never know, because obviously it's like a strong evidence that it is true.
Yeah, I was talking to I was training this one lady, and I was covering for my boss. I was training her, and it might like this. Okay, let's give you some context real quick. When I was training this lady, she's like paralyzed from the waist down. But she was she asked me about like politics and stuff like that, and I told her like I'm a Christian. Like I didn't say. She's like, oh, what political party like are you part of? I said I'm a Christian. So that's what I said to her, because I'm not really big into politics and stuff like that. And so she brought up this like one question. She's like, oh, like what are your thoughts on gay marriage? I said, gay people shouldn't get married. I told her what I believe and stuff like that. And whenever people like bring up questions like that, it's almost like it's like the Bible says like man and woman become one flesh and stuff like that. And it's like that type of questions. Like people think that just because you're gay and you think that you like another person, thinks that you should get married because of like the feelings and stuff like that. And it's like, what is the truth? The truth is that that's not how things work in this world. Objectively, it's not. Yeah. And I'm sorry if you don't think it's like not. That's just one example that I'm bringing up. But the things like that's where it's like that is only serving like your own human desire and not necessarily like serving the purpose of like what the creation was created for in a way. So it's like,
you want the reality to conform on your side, not the other way around. And then you will have a problem with people claiming that something is the truth, meaning you will call them prideful when somebody says, oh, Christianity is the truth. Jesus Christ is the only way to salvation. and then they will call you prideful for making such a statement, but then they will tell you the same exact thing, saying, oh, well, you can have marriage with 2 men or 2 women. They're also being very prideful because that's
They're
not the
making that claim
reality.
that you can. So
Right. So
what's
it's
the
not
difference, right?
so they're saying that I understand that the reality is the only way you can be fruitful and multiply is through men and women, but it is also true that you can have marriage with just men and men. When what is the purpose of marriage? To have a family. How are you going to have a family? I mean, if 2
Yeah.
people were a family, if a husband and a wife were a family, then there would be no marriage
can just
because
adapt.
just like
They can just adapt,
like a
though.
person, yeah.
So I can just adapt.
It's a whole different time. Well, how did she react though? How did she react?
She was actually pretty like stoic about it.
Okay.
Just like, okay. Like that's it. Like
Yeah.
She tried to press further. I didn't really want to press too much about it because I was training her in the moment.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to get like go off a tangent.
Yeah, right.
Stuff like that. But I pretty much showed like it's literally like in the Bible it says man and woman shall become one flesh. It makes sense. Man and woman like no 2 and 2. It doesn't make
Yeah.
sense.
Yo, you know what you
Those
should
are
tell
together.
them? This is a good one. I saw this funny video. You just tell them in a joke, and I think it will actually like make them laugh, and they will make them think it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve.
Yeah.
This is the funniest thing I've
Yeah.
come across. It's
Adam
the,
and Eve, Adam and Steve. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not Adam and Steve. It's Adam and Eve.
I guess not to go off the tangent too much about this specific topic, but there are some topics where I think we can look at or the way people think and understand kind of where we are in terms of society. So I think when there's such clear reality of babies created only through women and men having sex, and then you think that somehow you can also get pregnant being from men to men and have a baby and stuff like that, is you kind of understanding where our society is heading towards.
Yeah.
I mean, when you can't perceive such simple realities, you have to be honest and ask yourself the question, are we really sober-minded spiritually? Are we really spiritually, at the right place to acknowledge that I need to realize what reality is and live my life in reality rather than a video game or, putting myself in my own head because of my own selfish reasons and then trying to spread that propaganda around people. So my thoughts are validated. It's not that the thought itself has evidence or it's not that thought is right. It's because I want people to now conform to how I think. And that's kind of what people don't see with the movement and the problems with LGBTQ or like Black Lives Matter on these type of stuff is what they try to do is they're having people in a very prideful way too, and that's why it's called pride, is they are having people to conform to their ideology, not because there's any evidence, but because that's how they feel. So because one person feels a certain way, they want everybody else to say, oh, you can think that way and you're completely okay. I'm going to think otherwise, but guess what? We're both right. It's just such brain dead thinking. It's scary. It's super scary. You wouldn't do that with anything else in life. You wouldn't say, yo, look, this is, green and blue. And you tell somebody, okay, you can call this black and that's completely fine. You're not right. I'm not right. So if you wouldn't do that about simple colors, how are you going to do that about somebody's gender, who they're like born with, like the, I guess the biology of who they are? How are you going to really do that? That's a bigger reality than colors because people are colorblind and stuff,
Yeah.
But this is something that's different.
Yeah, I think the problem with that, I mean, not to attack the specific movement, but just like the movements in general that happen like all across like America.
No, we
and the
need to
world and
attack
stuff like that. What?
We need to attack.
No, I'm saying like not to be specific,
Yeah.
but like those movements in general,
Yeah.
like you said, are mostly coming from like a place of just like how you feel in that moment
Right.
about a certain thing, not actually it's like what is going on here, what is the truth? Because like can you really like live in like a subjective like world? Like people, I don't think people can honestly say like that they can if you really think about it, right?
No.
The person who murders is for a reason. It's just he's justified, just like a person who like steals an apple from a friend. Like, I don't think I said that right. Like not justified, but like people, it's not wrong because they did it for a specific reason.
Yeah.
It's not wrong because, though people might think like, oh yeah, stealing and murdering is wrong.
Oh no,
how
no.
am I
I
explaining
think,
this?
I think what you're saying is
Yeah, try to help me out here.
People will say that, you know, stealing is not as bad as murdering because when I steal, I'm not hurting anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've heard that argument. People saying as long as you don't hurt somebody, you're good. But their understanding of hurting is so unspiritual that they only focus on things that are physically harmful because they're not spiritual. Now, if I lie to you, I'm spiritually hurting you, right? I'm deceiving you. Or if I'm simply hating you, I'm spiritually committing a murder because that's how it starts. I'm hating you in my mind. Because, I mean, what an outward expression would be me just calling you a bad name or just with my actions. But that action has to be one way or another regulated my feelings from my heart, then my brain sending the signal to act it out. So it's all connecting, but people only look at, you know, the end result is one's killing, one's just taking an apple. That apple can also grow on a tree, but nobody focuses on my action is what determines the outcome of my spiritual being. If you stole an apple one day, you're going to steal maybe 2 apples tomorrow. And then you're going to probably go as far as wanting to steal a car.
Yeah. You know
It's
what?
just going to accumulate.
I say one of the most least sober minded people in this world are the people who like think that like they don't do any wrong, like that they're good people, or that they try to deny the fact that like they've done like bad things, or like they're like, oh yeah, but I'm a good person. Like I don't need God. Like I mean, like they believe that they think that they can get to heaven just because they're a good person. That's a crazy prop. If you really think about it, that's crazy.
That's the biggest.
Propaganda.
That's the biggest.
Like you think just because you're a good person, like without even knowing God, without even knowing anything, like you think you can just. I mean, it's wild. I don't know.
Do people believe that though?
Yeah, people think. I mean, it's just like what if you like being grown up, like you think like, oh, you go to heaven because you're a good person, in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, some people believe the idea. I'm not gonna say it's like the biggest one people
Me
believe
just
or
studying
think
the
about
history,
it, but
so
No, I
religious.
really do agree with you. This is why I agree with you because I think that's partly why people also reject Jesus Christ is because they don't think that they are in need of somebody taking on their sins. Like people can't actually
people don't even think they
perceive the
like
idea.
sin. No, people don't even like understand the idea of sin.
Yep.
Like some people, like I didn't like understand like I knew what the word sin like was before.
I only
like,
thought
reading
it
the
was
Bible.
actually outward until I heard Jesus saying that even if you commit, you know, if you just thought about a woman with lust, you have committed adultery. Or when he said, if you have hate in your heart, you have committed murder. And when I found out that why he was saying what he was saying, then I truly realized that this man's not messing around. He's not trying to tell you anything about you being better than another person because he has done something physically, but you haven't. It's about everybody being on the same boat. We're all here for
So I would
really
I would,
for
I would-
death.
yeah.
But
Okay.
the only
I would put it in
way
that
we can have life is through him. So it's like, I mean, look, I'm no different than a murderer. Really, I'm not. That's not my words.
And the thing
That's
is like
Jesus' words.
The thing is like people will say that and be like, that's a crazy claim, right? Because they
They'll
don't
be like,
they
you
don't.
don't say that. Why would you say that about yourself?
Yeah, it's like you haven't committed a murder, bro. It's like that's like just crazy, just like propaganda, like brainwashing.
That's
right
the
there.
devil like chirping in your head.
Yeah, it's almost
Your
like
ear.
people look at a sin, they like weigh it out. It's like, oh, this sin is less sinful than that sin. It's like no,
Right.
like once you've sinned, you're done.
Yeah.
Like
That's a
even
sin.
even like one sin, like the wages of sin is death. Adam and Eve, they sinned once, and then
They were abandoned.
I mean now we're here, right?
And guess what? It wasn't even a murder, dude. It was not even adultery.
Yeah.
It was not even lying. They just ate from a fruit that was forbidden for them to eat. Disobedience to God.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what it is. Sin is a sin. Something that God tells you to be obedient with and you don't do it.
Yeah.
It takes you away from God. Not the other way around. God doesn't go away from you. Because
Yeah.
if that was the case, God would just destroy them. Or another case. Father Victor said this. He said he would have made another creation. He loved them. So that's why he didn't do it. That's why he had a plan. Like literally, Bible says it so clearly. As soon as they did that, God had a plan for them. It's not like, do I love them? No, like you can't, because that's why with that, like when people say things like that, they just don't understand who God is. They really don't. They don't know. They don't even understand what God means. Who is He?
Yeah,
You know what I'm trying to say? Yeah, sure. You can make up God in your own head. Anybody can. That's why there's pagan gods, right?
Yeah.
But who is God? I was born a baby just as you were. I grew up and I started asking these questions. I have the evidence just as much you do. I'm not any different from you. We all need, one way or another, God for God to reveal Himself to us. Like how we were saying with the finite mind, with the infinite mind. Only God can reveal these things to you. If you ask, if you want to know. If I don't want to know, how am I going to get it? It's with anything. But then they want to reject it about God. It's crazy, bro. Like they want to say, if I don't search up something about this diet, am I going to know about the healthy diet? I'm not. If I don't, you know what I mean? So like, why
If you don't take the step.
So why are you expecting a relationship with someone when you don't want to have a relationship? It's called force God something that God will not do. He will not force you. It is out of a free will that you need to choose.
And I think that's why it's so important to know your audience on who you're speaking with, or even your friends who you're speaking with. A lot of the times, I think that's something that, and it takes a lot of skill. Like that's something that I've been trying to work on as well. And it's also part of being bold. Like if I'm speaking to an atheist, at some point, if they're going to ask a question saying, well, yeah, but why can't I have a relationship with God? Like, why are you saying like you have a relationship with God, but I don't, right? And that's where you have to be like very straight up and very bold, right? That's a tough question to answer. However, it's not as hard as you think it is, because you have to, literally go to their heart and question their own heart. When people say words, sometimes they just say the words just for the sake of argument, but they're not thinking about it. So you have to make them think about their own words by taking those words right back to their heart. So I would say when somebody says something like that, I would say, okay, but when you ask me that question, do you truly have a desire to have a relationship with God? Like, do you truly have it? Or are you just asking that just to debunk the idea that God exists? Because if you truly have the desire to know God, I think your approach would be different. Because if I want to know about God and somebody's claiming to know God, what you will do naturally is you will listen to that person as if they know something more than you.
Yeah.
That's what you do. If I want to know about something that I realize I don't know about, I will listen. But if I think that I know about something more than that person, what I will end up doing is talk more than that person, right? So it's sometimes in those simple details that you're able to understand who you're speaking with and who your audience is. You have to address the audience. I think it's like one of the debate strategies too, is appealing to the audience, it's called. Meaning, first you have to know who you're speaking with before you argue with them. Otherwise, this is the truth. You will lose with them and you will not get your point across the way you want it, right?
Yeah.
Because if I'm speaking to somebody who already has a prejudiced perspective on things, but he's trying to deceive me like they're in a vulnerable state, right? I've lost, because now I have thought that they are vulnerable, but they're not. They're like the wolves trying to destroy your beliefs, and it kind of envies it too that you have such a strong belief. They want to tear that down, not because they're sincere, but that's because now they're trying to get you to conform to their beliefs. Everybody, when they debate or talk about things, one way or another wants to persuade or influence. That's why we have conversations. That's why we talk, especially debates. And that's the thing with debates too, is when you watch two people argue, an atheist, let's say, and a Christian, when you look at these people debate, the reason why they debate is not to influence each other necessarily. Because when, let's say, Dawkins is talking with John Lennox, there's two radically different people with their worldviews, is that they're not debating to influence each other, they're debating to influence the audience. Dawkins has already made up his mind, unfortunately. That's why he's there. And so has John Lennox. When they debate, they're really debating for people who are watching. The outside perspective saying, okay, he's provided evidence, so has he. Who am I gonna believe
at
more,
least that's what
right?
it looks like, right? It's weird.
Yeah.
It might be a different
That's why
intention,
people
but-
usually don't change their minds like right then and there. They never do, because they're there for a purpose. everybody has a purpose there, why they're there. Mostly though, the idea of them being curious is probably there, but it always outweighs their curiosity, because when they're there, they want to win an argument. Because you would want to win an argument when you're debating an atheist or a Muslim, right? You wouldn't want to lose that argument, because if you lose an argument, then what you're standing for, you don't believe what you're standing for is the truth, right?
Yeah.
Am I making sense?
Yeah, of course. You just have to. No, yeah.
I don't know how I
wouldn't
know
really-
how I got there.
I wouldn't really add
Took
to
a
it,
long
'cause you
way.
can't really know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't really know
You
their
can't,
hearts. You
but-
can't. Like, somebody can actually like try to act like, oh, they're naive, but they're not. They could care less. They've gone to the point where they could care less. I mean, for me, the best example is really the fallen angels. Even before we call them devil and the evil, let's call them fallen angels.
Yeah.
I mean, he knew who he was messing with.
Yeah.
That was his intention. That was his heart. He didn't want to be obedient. He could care less.
Disobedience is
So
definitely
that's like another thing with people. Like, you could care less. That's just what you want to do.
Yeah.
It's so hard for us to understand somebody's heart. They can make it look like they're naive, but are they? And you can only, I guess, sense that through their conversation, which doesn't have to happen like right there. I mean, it has to happen over time. I feel like.
Yeah.
The more you study, the more you will find the answers. I mean, here's another thing too. Like, when you find answers, you shouldn't just find the answer. You should take the answer and accept it. You know what I mean? Like, that's another one. Like, when you're wrong about something, don't just say, okay, I am wrong because I wasn't ready. No. You were wrong because you were just simply wrong. You're wrong. That's it. Take that and say, I was wrong, and accept the truth. And then when you keep on doing this, okay, I was wrong about this. Okay, let me go and study now about resurrection.
It's like failure, right? It's like you go into failure. So from failure, you understand how to come back from that.
Yeah, and actually accept that too. Like, not just like say, okay, no, accept it. Like,
you failed a test, that means you need to study more.
yeah,
That's it.
exactly. Yeah. Two things I want to kind of mention before we end it off.
Can you plug this in over there on this plug?
Yeah.
And then before we do close it out too,
Either there or there.
as it's getting closer, is we should go to 1 Peter 5:8 and just to do a breakdown on there, because that will conclude the episode really well on what we really talked about, the being sober minded in every way, physically and spiritually. But Georgie, what were you going to say?
I was going to just share John 14:1, where he says, do not let your hearts be troubled. Trust in God and trust also in me. This verse clearly says, do not trust your hearts, but trust me. And you know, all the morals that he's, and the evidence and all these things that he's providing for us and telling us, we need to trust in that. Because in Jeremiah it says that do not trust your heart, because a man's heart is full of sexual immoralities, adultery, murder, all these things, and disobedience in a sense. So when you trust these instincts of yours, that's when you fall.
Yeah.
Which it can happen. It really can. But you have to be able to control that. It's like
we do that all
like
the time.
saying,
We
when I
trust
work out,
ourselves sometimes
yeah.
more than we trust God. But to what extent are you going to do that?
yeah, like how far are you willing to just keep on
Trusting yourself.
trusting yourself? Yeah. So it's like I'll give an analogy with working out. Like, does that, like, for example, when you bench press, right?
Yeah.
Does that mean you're always gonna feel good? No, but are you gonna, because you don't feel good, for example, like bench pressing or working out?
Yeah.
Does that mean that every time you're gonna go in there, you're just not gonna be prepared for it?
Yeah.
Like, how far are you willing to take that approach? You're gonna always try to improve. That same thing with life. Same thing with God's commands. It's hard to follow for a man, right?
Yeah.
Especially in a world where we know a devil is like a roaring lion going around trying to destroy people.
Yeah.
Because he hates God. So therefore he hates everything that he created. He hates his creation, like God's creation. So he will try to do that. So you have to fight that. Same thing when you go in the gym and you fail. Do you want to keep on failing? No, that's just like a feeling that you're not gonna stay there. Same thing with the obedience with God. Are you willing to trust Him more, or are you gonna or do you want to trust yourself with that? You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's always that external things that we rely on, if it's not God, for example, somebody that it doesn't believe in God, there's always something external that they rely on.
Something greater than themselves. Yeah.
Exactly. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's foolish for somebody to say, I don't need to rely on something. Someone. You do. You rely on literally your brother. You rely on your mother. Same finite being that you are.
Yeah.
Like, and then you don't want to rely on something that is above you. It's foolish to say it.
Sure. You want to share Proverbs?
Yeah, no, what he was saying is a proverb says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he will make your path straight. I think in Proverbs 2 it mentions that like the fear of the Lord is the beginning of understanding, wisdom. Yeah. So as soon as you be obedient to him, all of a sudden paths start opening up, right? He will guide you towards the path that he wants for you, not you, what you want for yourself.
Yeah.
What did you,
Amen
do you want to say something?
I wanted to share 1 Peter 5:8, right? This is be sober-minded, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. Now,
we were going to share this in the beginning, right?
Be sober-minded, right? This doesn't mean don't be drunk. It means think clearly. Have a mind that's not fogged by fear, distractions, addictions, emotions, lies, spiritual laziness. Like you can't rely on emotions or your addictions or your fear or your distractions to guide you to think clearly. These are the things that are not going to make you think clearly. So you have to be self-controlled, right? And then how are you self-controlled? Don't let your impulses run your life. Discipline. That's how you control yourself. If you can't discipline yourself, you have not controlled your emotions. You have not controlled your desires, and your desires are controlling you. It's really that simple. So be spiritually steady. A sober mind is a mind anchored in truth, not tossed by everything happening around you. Peter is saying, don't let anything cloud your mental or spiritual clarity when he says be sober-minded. Don't let anything cloud your mental or spiritual clarity. Be clear. Be watchful. Then he follows it up. This means to stay alert, right? Don't fall asleep spiritually.
Yeah, like don't let it phase you almost. Right? You
what
will
you
fail,
watch.
but don't let it control your
right.
failure.
Yeah, like don't be unaware of things. Be watchful. It's don't fall asleep spiritually. Don't neglect and overthink things that actually affect you. Meaning, pay attention to what influences you, what you watch, what you consume, what you're around, what you tolerate. Reflect on these stuff. Recognize the enemy's tactics. The devil doesn't always attack loudly. Most attacks begin in the mind, right? It's the thoughts, discouragement, comparison, doubt, temptation, isolation, fear, hopelessness. And when we say isolation, it's the isolation where you're relied on yourself and you don't need and seek help from anybody else. It's you that you're relying on, right? That's the isolation part. Not that you spend time alone, because that's important.
Yeah, you know what I just remembered about the isolation.
Can I finish?
part?
Yeah, can I just finish this up? And then 3, right? I mean, the next part, it's just breaking down into verses. Mm-hmm. So your adversary, the devil, right? Why does he call him the adversary? So he makes 2 things clear. You have an enemy. The battle isn't against people, politics, or circumstances. Your real enemy is spiritual. Yeah. That's why, in order for us to have, any type of fruitful conversation is we have to take away our arguments and energy from the things that exist, right? People. Like, I don't necessarily always have a problem with you. There's something greater beyond us that's making us fight or have an argument. Politics, circumstances, like all these stuff are always so radically different with people sometimes that it always makes them argue.
It's like we have a common enemy.
Right, and then there's a common enemy who wants you to fight. So you have to be very watchful to that and understand that we can disagree on politics, but what we have to not disagree on is, do we love each other? Yeah. Right? And your battle isn't against people, politics, or circumstances. Your real enemy is spiritual. He's your adversary. The adversary is someone who studies you, knows your patterns, wants to oppose your purpose, wants to interrupt your walk with God. This is a personal target enemy. Like, he targets every single one personally by knowing them and stuff. And I also want to share that here to have an understanding, because sometimes, and here's the problem, you can't make devil more than who he is, and you can't make him less than what he actually is, right? So So you have to know who he is. And, the scripture tells us very clearly on who he is, and he tells us his ways. And when you start living as a Christian, right, and you pick up your cross and you follow Christ, you will see him so personally attack you. Like, it will be super evident, right? And some of you will know what I'm talking about. So the idea is he's already defeated, right? When Jesus Christ died on the cross, he defeated death. He locked him up in hell, and he's done. Like, there's nothing he can do. He does not have power whatsoever. He never did. More than God, never. However, it's very important that we circle back to Jesus Christ. If Jesus Christ did not die, there would be no redemption for humankind. In other words, if God didn't save people from death, yeah, there would be no salvation. So it's important that we understand that the name Jesus Christ, the actions of Jesus Christ, the teachings of Jesus Christ is what destroys the enemy and reveals the enemy. When you talk to somebody and you tell them about, these are not my words, these are Jesus' words, the battle is won.
They get riled up.
Right. It's not, because sometimes you think that you're debating the person. No. Christ is debating that person. Christ through you is debating that person. You mention Christ's words. You tell them what he said. Because I'm not saying what I know about my realization point miraculously. It's what he has revealed, not only to me, but to all of us through scripture. I've just read it. So it's us speaking to that person, using his name and using his authority to beat the enemy, not ourselves. So it's important that we don't give him this much power that, oh, he knows me and he knows every single one of my thoughts. No, only God knows your thoughts. What the devil does is he just tries to get something, gets out of you or guess it. He just knows the patterns. He just knows what you've done already. He just knows your ways, and he knows humanity. That's what he knows. He knows humanity, right? And that's the idea, is we need to watch what we say. If I say something, right, and I don't think about it, I have given him the opportunity to use that against me, right? That's why we can't speak foolishly. That's why we have to be stoic. That's why we have to think before we say something, because our thoughts are one thing, but when we speak it out, we've already put it out there and revealed it, right? So, and then he prowls around.
This is like not like real stuff. It's
right.
It's crazy. It's right in front of their eyes, and
it's very deep. And he prowls around like a roaring lion. This key points, like a lion, not a lion. He's just like it. Just despises himself as one. Only Jesus is the true lion. Revelation 5:5. Yeah. Satan imitates. He's intimidating, not ultimate. Yeah. Right? Moments of weakness, emotional exhaustion, right? Sometimes discouragement from how hard our life as Christian might be, or when we're weak, emotionally, spiritually, or physically. That's when we think that he's the lion, but not Jesus Christ. Distraction, isolation, spiritual laziness, sins that you have not confessed, right? Sins that you have not put out before God and have not acknowledged, even with your brothers and sisters. Tell each other your sins. You know what I mean? Let them help you out. Let them not consume you, and just not let that. Don't let that sin so deep in your heart that now it becomes something that's not even a sin at all. Like, people will say, "Oh, is smoking a sin? Is just drinking a sin?" and this type of stuff. But everybody asks that in such a way that excuses their behaviors, right? So that, and then seeking someone to devour. So obviously this shows his intention to does destroy your life and take you away from God, right? He looks for the vulnerable, isolated Christians, spiritually sleepy believers, distracted minds. Everything that we listed previously, this is what you shouldn't do, so you're not like the target, right? Spiritually sleepy believers, distracted minds, tired hearts, people living in unconfessed sin, believers running away from God, right? And these are the weaknesses that only hinder us. And these are unavoidable weaknesses too. I mean, you will be weak. It's just that, who do you put your trust in, and what are you relied on to give you the strength that you do not have by yourself? So that's 1 Peter 5:8. Just one, dude. That's just one verse.
So much wisdom in there.
So much wisdom.
All right.
The isolation part is interesting. 'Cause I was gonna tell you
Very.
when you told me to hold it off, because like when Adam and Eve sinned, they were hiding from God. So God told them to come out. That's when they were clothed. You know what I mean? So God helped them, because otherwise they would be just embarrassed. They would be hiding. They would be isolating. But the moment
They were separate too when they sinned. It was just Eve against the snake. I'm pretty sure if they were together, they wouldn't. And that's just to also put in perspective that you have to imagine that's probably not the first time they were told about the apple. I mean, we can't know that, but we can think about that. Something happened there. Why it wasn't Adam and it was Eve. I mean, Paul says it too. He says he did not deceive the man, but he deceived the woman. So there's something about the snake.
He was trying to
obviously
go
the
for
devil,
everybody.
knowing
He doesn't really
knowing
care who it will
where
be,
he would
as long as it's somebody,
right.
type of thing. But like the isolation part, like when you're isolated, you cannot be helped. So when they came out of the bush and said, "Come out," and he came out, then he was clothed. That means that he was helped in a sense, because he was no longer naked. He was now he put clothes on him. You know what I mean? So it's interesting.
Very, very. All right, Mikey, you want to add something?
No, I mean, you pretty much just like went through that whole entire verse, so you're good. We're good.
All right. Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. We're just going to close the episode. Christian culture. Quote of the day. If you enjoyed the episode, leave a comment, like the video, subscribe, and
comment for a shout out.
If
you comment on this episode, we'll shout you out. I guarantee it.
Yo, first comment. Yo, how about this? First comment
gets a shout out. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter what it is.
All right. This is going to be personal. So let's get it. What is one word that describes
what it is? They
who God says you are?
Stuff.
You guys are not listening.
No, I'm not.
What is one word?
Not sober-minded. That's it.
Be sober-minded. What is one word that describes who God says you are? So what do you think?
I don't know. I have to think about that.
What is the one word that God says you are?
What is one word that describes who God says I am? A child.
Yeah.
Child.
He's a shepherd and we're lambs.
That's what she would say.
I'm a lamb. I'm a child.
Sons of God.
Creation.
Yeah.
Creation. I'm dust.
Sinner.
I'm his footstool.
Yeah.
I'm his servant.
Like Paul says. Let me actually pull that up. It's such a beautiful verse that I recently learned. And look, we can talk about all the good things that God would probably be pleased with, our behaviors on what we do for him. But it's important that we acknowledge who we truly are before God, and it's us being the greatest sinners.
I'm his.
He's gonna pull up another verse and he's gonna go for hours. Watch.
Paul
doesn't say one word. Bro, Paul goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
Paul's a talker.
Paul is
a preacher.
Yapper?
Yeah, but it's in a good way.
Bro, he's
Greetings.
I like in Acts when he was what's it called? What do you call that? He was taken to a trial by Jews.
Yeah.
When he was preaching about Jesus, and there was Pharisees that attended that, and another king went, another one, and he kept on preaching the same thing. It's interesting how he was just cooking them one at a time.
What are you looking for?
So 1 Timothy chapter 1, 15, right? This is like where it really comes, but I'm going to read 15, 17. The saying is trustworthy and deserving of full acceptance that Christ Jesus came into the world to save sinners, of whom I am the foremost, meaning the worst. And we have to acknowledge that before we think about other people and their sins or what they have done, we have to understand that we are the worst. But I received mercy for this reason, that in me, as the foremost, Jesus Christ might display his perfect patience as an example to those who were to believe in him for eternal life. We're just, I guess you can say, him using us to glorify himself. And we get to be the lucky ones. We get to be the chosen ones by his grace to do that. To the King of ages, immortal, invisible, the only God, be honor and glory forever and ever. Amen.
Amen.
Mikey, I want you to do the quote of the day. You haven't done it in a while.
I feel like I have.
And you like this guy
okay.
too. You're going to like this guy.
Sure. You have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our hearts are restless until they rest in you. By Saint Augustine?
Bro, why does this
Augustine.
quote of the day is always like
Is it? Oh, wait. Listen. Is it Augustine or Augustine?
Augustine? I think. I don't know.
It
How you
should be an A.
pronounce it.
It should be AUG, not AG.
I don't know.
Augustine.
It's Augustine now.
You've made us for yourself,
No, I'm pretty sure that's Saint.
O Lord, and our hearts are restless
Maybe
until
it's AU.
This is just that he explains the creation in need of its creator.
No, he's right. You misspelled it again, Georgie. Saint Augustine.
Did I misspell it or
Yeah.
It's
that just-
AUG.
I don't-
It's AUG.
I'm making it up, man. That's
I-
his name.
Augustine. It would be Augustine, not Ugg.
Listen, bro. English is weird. All right.
Aug.
In Georgian,
Augustine.
you write names as it sounds. So sometimes
Bro,
I
I
tend to
could,
do
like-
that. All right. It's okay.
Let's not talk about the Georgian language and letters because that looks like squigglies.
Bro,
No offense.
Georgian language actually makes more sense than English, though. We can have a whole
Honestly,
debate
I
about
bet
that.
it does.
Like when you pronounce
bet.
your name, Mike, it's spelled out just as it's like pronounced. That's why I put Augustine like that. I tend to do that. I'm used to that.
But it's Augustine, not Augustine.
Okay, I get it.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Augustine?
Okay, who's gonna do the
All
count?
right.
Okay, Sadhu, you do the shout out.
That's a GG quote of the day. Anyways, shout out.
Yeah. So
Is bro scrolling like mid shout out?
no. Okay, so this was
My boy
from Cole's episode when we were talking about saints and stuff and prayers to saints and all that stuff. So I always looked at saints for of examples of how to be Christ-like. It seems impossible for an average person to reach Jesus' perfection, but saints can show us how much we are capable of. And thank you for this comment, user 5719912794794. Okay, so thank you for this comment. I really do agree that there's definitely that misconception that we always try to that we disagree a lot of the times, usually between Orthodox and Protestant believers. And I think that's what it is as we are each other's encouragement to be Christ-like, and somebody, let's say, overcame the temptation or overcame some kind of,
Evil?
some kind of evil that I haven't, I can use that brother in Christ or sister in Christ to, be
a role
empowered
model?
that it's possible.
Like
Right.
a role model, right?
Exactly. Simply a role model to achieve that. Because sometimes I'll admit it. Jesus Christ is who we look to be like him. No doubt about it. He should be the role model. However, I think sometimes as a human being, it can feel discouraging because we know that he's perfect and he's God. So sometimes it can be like, how can I ever do that? But then when we see somebody,
Like the martyrs.
right, like martyrs who actually went through it, or people who overcame such evil, or people actually defeated such evil things, I think we can say that this guy was also a human, same as me, and he was a Christian who put their faith and trust in Christ and prayed and spent so much time and devoted their life to Christ more than I have. And I need to do better, and I can take an example of that. And that's really how we become stronger. There's so many things that we get influenced by and so many people that we hear things from and we get fired up. Like, have you ever heard of somebody sharing something maybe in the past about God or their life, and you were just fired up because you acknowledge that if this person can so boldly declare something, so can I, and I need to do better, right? And that's really all there is to it. So I hope that people can see that from that perspective, and I think it will be definitely less
Eye-opening.
arguments between us Orthodox and Protestants and Reformers. So thank you guys for tuning in. Join us our next episode. Subscribe, hit the like button, and comment. Let us know what you want us to talk
Please.
about,
Please.
and you will get a shout out. All right. With that being said, think big, grow big.
Grow bigger.
Peace.
Get it, man. Let's get it.